Laudetur Jesus Christus. Vatican and World News.
Today, Thursday, May 20th, is the feast of St. Bernardine of Siena. And these are today's headlines. Fighting continues in Israel and Palestine despite mounting international pressure for a ceasefire. The Vatican's point man for migrants and refugees reflects on new paths for evangelization in Amazonia. And Pope Francis welcomes the new Spanish-language edition of La Civiltà Cattolica. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells. Our top story today, despite mounting pressure from the United States to wind down, Israel is continuing its offensive against Hamas in Gaza. Another heavy barrage of airstrikes early Thursday morning killed at least one Palestinian and wounded several others in the densely populated enclave. Meanwhile, Hamas militants in Gaza continue to fire hundreds of rockets into Israel. The latest fighting between Israel and Hamas erupted on May 10th when the militant group fired long-range rockets towards Jerusalem after days of clashes between Palestinian protesters and Israeli police at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, a flashpoint site sacred to Jews and Muslims. At least 230 Palestinians have been killed in the fighting, including 65 children and 39 women. 1,710 people have been wounded, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which does not break down the numbers into fighters and civilians. Some 58,000 Palestinians have fled their homes. 12 people in Israel have been killed, including a 5-year-old boy, a 16-year-old girl, and a soldier. Gaza's infrastructure, already weakened by a 14-year blockade, has rapidly deteriorated with the latest fighting. Medical supplies, water, and fuel for electricity are running low in the territory on which Israel and Egypt imposed the blockade after Hamas seized power in 2007. Diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire are said to be gathering pace, with officials close to the talks saying they expect a truce to be announced soon. Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza is worsening and the people are desperate, according to Sister Bridget Tai, the General Director of Caritas Jerusalem in Gaza. The Irish nun, a member of the Congregation of the Franciscan Missionaries of the Divine Motherhood, spoke with Vatican News on Wednesday from Jerusalem, explaining the conditions in Gaza.
The situation in the Gaza Strip is desperate. People say that this war is much worse than previous wars. The bombs are much stronger or they're of a different nature. The people say they seem indiscriminate. They're used to hearing bombs coming and knowing more or less what the targets are, but this time they hardly hear them coming until they explode near them. The bombs are falling almost 24 hours a day. Sometimes there's a 2-hour break in the middle of the night when people try to sleep, and then it starts again. There are hospitals, clinics, schools damaged. 2 senior experienced doctors were killed with their families. Roads are destroyed. That is making it difficult for even ambulances to travel. The most recent figures that I have are 72,000 internally displaced persons. 47,000 of those are finding refuge in 53 UN schools, and 25,000 more are with host families. Those are estimates given 24 hours ago. There may be more by now. So with this extremely heavy bombing, almost 24 hours, it's impossible to deliver aid. Hospitals are struggling, clinics are doing what they can, but aid organizations cannot travel because of the danger to their staff. So Caritas Jerusalem cannot help the injured and the displaced people until the air bombardment stops. As soon as it does, we in Caritas Jerusalem in Gaza will assess what we can offer, and then we will be letting our international Caritas organization know to see how we can help. What I'm hearing is this is a totally different war. People are desperate, and the situation is terrifying.
In other news, the Undersecretary of the Vatican's Migrants and Refugees section has joined with the bishops of the Amazon region in reflecting on new paths of evangelization for Amazonia. Cardinal Michael Czerny has highlighted the pastoral care as a whole as the mother of all priorities in the Church's response.
The bishops of the Amazon met from the 18th to the 19th of May to reflect on the situation in the region and to explore possibilities for new paths for the Church and for an integral ecology in light of the recommendations of the 2019 Synod. Present at the virtual meeting was the Undersecretary of the Migrants and Refugees section of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, Cardinal Michael Czerny, who accompanied the bishops in reflecting on their pre-synodal, synodal and post-synodal journey. Cardinal Czerny traced the journey, beginning from the 2007 Aparecida document, which offers proposals and orientations for a comprehensive pastoral care of the Amazon, where there is need to evangelize the peoples to discover the gift of creation, learning to contemplate and care for our common home. The Cardinal noted that in the almost 15 years since the document, there have been highs and lows in the response of the recommendations of the Aparecida. He also recalled Pope Francis's meeting with the bishops of Brazil in 2013, during which the Holy Father highlighted that the Amazon is crucial, even decidedly relevant to the current and future path, not only of the Church in Brazil, but also of the whole of society. Cardinal Czerny went on to note that the 2019 Synod, themed New Paths for the Church and for an Integral Ecology, was a process of conversion that makes us discover how a unique and inseparable theme awaits us, not only to be understood, but more importantly, to be lived. He noted that just a few months after the Synod, Pope Francis published the Querida Amazonia post-synodal exhortation, in which he expressed 4 dreams that the Amazon region inspires in him. Continuing his address to the bishops, Cardinal Czerny said that if we had to identify the mother of all priorities, it would be to establish a collaborative ministry among the local churches of the various South American countries in the Amazon basin and to support with the necessary human and financial resources the church that lives in the Amazon so that it may continue proclaiming the gospel of life and carry out its pastoral work in forming lay people, priests and communities. To achieve this, he concluded, we need processes of articulation and synergy and openness to options, planning and results that will welcome with the grace of the newness of the Holy Spirit. I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.
The bishops of Scotland have announced the establishment of a new Care of Creation office as part of its observance of Laudato Si Week. The new office will seek to call Catholics to action and assist Scottish dioceses and parishes in reducing their carbon footprints. Francesca Merlo has more.
The Catholic bishops of Scotland recently announced that they plan to set up a new office dedicated to helping Scottish dioceses and parishes assess their carbon footprint and to discern how to work towards carbon neutrality. The establishment of the Care of Creation office was announced ahead of the COP26 to be held in November in Glasgow. The new department will be headed by Father Gerard McGuinness, the General Secretary of the Bishops' Conference. According to the bishops, the idea was inspired by Pope Francis's encyclical letter Laudato Si. Caring for Creation is also the theme of a pastoral letter which the bishops will distribute on Pentecost Sunday, on the occasion of the 6th anniversary of the Pope's document on a care for our common home. The letter draws attention to the Christian message that we are all part of one human family and that we share a common home. It recalls that God's creation is a great gift to all humanity and its resources are to be preserved and passed on to future generations. However, although we have been entrusted by God with the care of the earth, we have not just used the earth, we have abused it, lament Scottish bishops. As the world faces the ecological crisis, they call for urgent and deep-rooted action, which implies a radical change of life. The environmental crisis is not just an issue that can be left to governments to deal with, the bishops say, but it raises questions about how we live, how we work, how we holiday, how we travel, and how the goods we purchase are manufactured and transported to us. The bishops also draw attention on the close connection between the protection of the environment and social justice. It is not only that we must stop polluting the atmosphere, we need to recognise the right of all humanity to the world's resources, they say. They also recall that the Church too needs to act in this regard and that the dioceses of Scotland are in the process of divesting from fossil fuel investments. Calling to mind that scientists have confirmed that the window for effective change is limited, Scotland's bishops reiterate their urgent call for action. All of us must work with a sense of urgency, they conclude, in order to discern what needs to be done and to make the changes required. I'm Francesca Merlo.
Catholic communities in New Zealand and Australia are joining forces to host a July virtual conference to look at ways of strengthening the faith in a post-pandemic world. Lydia O'Kane has that story.
Alive in the Spirit, that's the title of a virtual conference taking place from the 8th to the 10th of July, which hopes to enliven Catholic communities in New Zealand and Australia as both countries slowly emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. The online event aims to offer a next-level experience to participants through a variety of keynote speakers, homegrown workshops and enriching prayer and worship experiences. Alive in the Spirit's New Zealand organiser, Amy Armstrong, Pastoral Ministry Coordinator for the Diocese of Dunedin, said the mixture of live and on-demand opportunities are fully adaptable to strengthen the mission and aims of local Catholic communities. Our faith communities are hungering for inspiration and support as we emerge from the pandemic, she said. 3 Catholic networks have combined forces to host the event: the Pastoral Ministry Network, Christian Initiation Australia Network and the Mission Planners Network. One of the main highlights of the initiative will be the more than 30 on-demand workshops exploring areas such as best practice for the rite of Christian initiation of adults, planning for mission and renewal, supporting pastoral care and social justice initiatives. Presenters at the July event will be drawn from experienced pastoral ministers in Australia and New Zealand, who will offer practical, down-to-earth wisdom, resources and avenues of new life. The virtual conference will also feature a variety of prayer spaces to provide their own sources of inspiration. A number of scheduled networking sessions will enable the Alive in the Spirit participants a chance to share their knowledge and learn from others in the mission field.
Finally, Pope Francis has sent a message to the writers and editors of La Civiltà Cattolica to mark the relaunch of its Spanish-language edition. Devin Watkins has that story.
As the Church celebrates Laudato Si Week, the Italian city of Aquileia is playing host to the One Health for All event on Wednesday. According to a press release from the Dicastery for the Promotion of Integral Human Development, the event seeks to deepen reflection on the connection between global health, just development, and integral ecology. The One Health for All event sees the participation of a host of international public figures and features an operatic performance by the tenor Francesco Grollo. Participants also include activists and leaders in healthcare, finance, politics, and the environment. One highlight is the celebration of the renovation and rededication of a hospital in South Sudan. The Rumbek Hospital was redone as a Laudato Si hospital with the help of Doctors with Africa Association. According to the press release, the upgrades will allow the hospital to improve care for mothers and children and showcase that concrete local actions can be taken to address global challenges. Doctors with Africa drew inspiration for the hospital's renovation from Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si. Cardinal Peter Turkson, prefect of the Dicastery for Human Development, of which the COVID-19 Commission is a part, recalled that the Pope's encyclical invites all people to enter into dialogue to protect our common home. As members of the common human family, said Cardinal Turkson, we are here to reflect on the precarious state of our common planetary home and to articulate concrete responses to heal and rebuild it. As the press release makes clear, One Health for All is inspired by Laudato Si, which calls for a new universal solidarity. The encyclical helps us to understand that health for all relies on transforming our current take, make, dispose economic model into a circular renew, remake, share approach to economic development that is designed to benefit businesses, society, the environment, and people, it reads. The press release says Laudato Si also shows how enterprises and institutions can strongly choose to change direction, act for the common good, and respect the delicate balance between care for creation, for others, and our common home. I'm Devin Watkins.
And that's all the time we have for this edition of Vatican and World News. Many thanks to our technicians in studio. In the Vatican, I'm Christopher Wells.